Hi, friends. It's Beth here, Aging Care Solutions, offering professional guidance and personal caregiving and family experience, and also personal stories from a whole contingent of friends of mine who are going through this exact title of this. If it brought you in, you know that this is something that is undeniably one of the hardest things that you'll do. Um, And because of my age group, I'm in my early 60s, but a lot of my friends are kind of all over the board. One of my friends is in her 80s. I miss her. I don't see her as much as I used to, but I love her. Her name is Angel. She's a doll. But younger people that I worked with, I have friends that are in their 40s whose parents have dementia, and they are faced with, doing the same thing I had to do, moving a loved one from a distant state and patching together the type of care that's needed to at least stabilize them, get them into your local vicinity, and then over time assess them and really see how they are doing, what they need, and from there making different decisions on their behalf, especially if they're unable to do so for themselves. But it's not just dementia care, it's long term nursing care too. If someone has a real high acuity, maybe they need level two or level three nursing care around the clock. It's very hard to be able to do that at home. I mean, people do it, you can do it. You'll have to assemble a highly skilled team and you have to pay for those people to come in to do that. But people do it. I mean, we've seen it. I worked in skilled home health care, and there was a patient that lived 24 hours a day with nursing, was on a ventilator, lived in his home. So it's possible. But today's topic is making basically the gut wrenching decision to place your loved one in either dementia care or nursing care, and the emotional difficulty that this choice brings with having to face. And it does come with overwhelming guilt. I mean, you just and sadness. Like, I felt so sad, but I also knew mine was a bit different because my mother was able to be in more of an assisted section of a community. So we had for her, like a year and a half, almost 2 years of her having the ability to participate in things, but she was challenged. She definitely would many times be either too tired to have conversations, wasn't able to keep up with conversations and different things that were going on. She belonged to a connections club where they would have people in a little group doing activities 3 days a week. But if she'd lose interest and then just wander off to another part of this beautiful assisted living that she was in, and or go back to her room and take a nap or whatever. But the thing is that I felt this way too. Is I sort of felt like that I was failing her in a way. Like, maybe why couldn't I have her stay with us and me at that time? But I couldn't. The safety of that whole decision was made. And this is what I also thought was the truth was that providing and choosing the right care for her was more of an act of love and safety and responsibility, because I had two little kids. I was unable to effectively manage and look after them and do what needed to be done for their care, while trying to make sure she wasn't going outside. So my story was different, but I do see almost every family that has had to go through this. I have a good friend right now her parents are married now 57 years, I think she said, or they've been together 57 years, and they had to make this very, very difficult decision to place their mom, my friend's dad, her mother, in dementia care for safety purposes. And by the time a family really gets to that point, a lot has unfolded. Not only, well, I mean, not only do they not tell everybody that, oh, wow, mom has gotten out a few times, or, she drank shampoo, or she was cooking and left the stove on, or took the car. I mean, there's just the stories that I heard about families and how families were doing because they may have promised somebody, when they were in their 20s, when they were married, that maybe I'll never put you in a home. I would never do that to you. The nursing homes of years gone by are not what they are today. So, you know, back in the day, like the Bellevues and these other places, they were like a house of horrors. But today, now, with oversight by the state, drop in inspections, I mean, there's so many reasons. And not only that, people want to keep their jobs, and it's very competitive to be in the assisted living and nursing care facility space, that they really do try to uphold very high standards. Is the care going to be perfect? No, it won't. In fact, you'll be shocked sometimes when you realize that, they only have two people for 30 residents or 40 residents, and those two CNAs are supposed to do all the personal care for all those people. Plus, there's, more hands-on there's a director, there's usually a nurse on. There's other people that do things that are there, but as far as like helping each of these people, you're shocked at how few people are there to help. But this guilt in these situations it's universal. I don't know any family that after saying that, oh, mom was, too ill, we couldn't really take care of her at home, she needed IVs, she needed this or that. Well, it's going to still come with an aspect of care, because you're going to definitely want to go visit and stay within communication and looking after them, because the staff sees the families that come in. They do note that, and they appreciate that, because you're not only engaging that person, but many times families will wheel that person around, take them out to a garden or outside, even take them out to specialist appointments if needed. So there's just because someone has to go to more of a nursing care aspect of care, it doesn't mean that they're not going to be engaging and being a part of their family's lives. Feeling that you have given up. You may believe that you if you had more time or more energy, or maybe if you weren't working, or if you could have modified your schedule, you could have provided more help or more love, could have kept them at home with you. But it's like we create these scenarios in our head to think, I should have been able to do that. I got on that bandwagon. Like, what can I do to try to reverse this memory loss for my mother? And if I looked at all the millions of dollars that have gone into research, that it's still going into research on how to turn it around, and why do I think that it has something to do with the toxins and the way that we continually feed our bodies that's causing some sort of inflammation, or they're sort of referring to it as diabetes of the brain. So, but there is pressures. There's pressures not only that you're putting on yourself for expectations of care, but also maybe culturally or maybe family pressure. What I believe and what I saw in my experience as a professional in, aging care and health care for seniors at home, was that the people who never really were doing one-on-one hands-on care giving for their parent always thought the solution could be way easier than it was. So just stay with her, just move her in with you. But the reality is that if you're trying to work and you have children at home, it can be very hard to give 100% personal care to somebody who needs assistance with bathing, dressing, eating, medication management, to and from visits. To doctors. It can be a lot. So I do get it. But watching someone decline, I think that's the biggest thing is knowing that they're declining, and knowing that you're maybe not going to be able to provide the level of care. It makes you feel like you're failing them in some way. But guilt is not a reflection of wrongdoing. It's often a reflection of love and grief and the impossible standards that we sort of hold ourselves to. Sorry, there's a bird right sitting on my railing, and he's really loud, so I apologize for that. I have my door open. I hope he doesn't fly in. I'm going to close the door. Excuse me. Welcome to my wacky life. Anyway, the reality of these care needs like dementia or chronic illness, it's going to progress in such a way. And that's what I noted with my mom. As she progressed, I knew she was in the right place. I absolutely, without a doubt, I knew that a secured environment was exactly where she needed to be. Did it bother me? Yes. But did I realize that there were safety risks with her wandering, her falling, and not having anybody know that, or any medication errors that could have taken place? And also the reality that I wasn't able to provide 24-hour, 7-day a week care for her physical needs, and it became emotionally exhausting. And she only lived with us for probably 8 months when we finally found. And when I say we, I mean I wanted her with me when we made that decision, even though she was pretty far along in her dementia. She chose the place. Every time we drove there, she was like, "Ooh, I like this place. It's nice here." And I agreed. And she lived there 10 years, which was, it brought me a lot of relief. I knew that she was in a safe place. I knew she could afford to live there. As her care went up, the cost went up, but they offered this specialized care that I couldn't. These were trained professionals. She also had doctors that were coming in. There was case management that helped her. They helped, and they stayed in touch with me. Her primary care physician was coming in, a podiatrist was coming in. So all these things that I wasn't going to be able to do, or I was going to have to be able to provide transport for, was being provided for her. So having the assistance of a facility, in my eyes, didn't become a failure. It really became that they were one of my greatest resources to care for her. And her quality of life went up. When I moved her from living alone to my home as a short stopover for that close to a year, that 8 or 9 months, her world opened up. Her world opened up when she went there. I mean, I think she really loved it. Not only was the food great, there was always something going on. They did daily exercises. They just had fun. I mean, they made it so fun for her. And anytime there was something really fun, we would go. I would bring my kids, or I'd go by myself. I just made a point of, and we sold so many Girl Scout cookies at that assisted living every year. First, my daughter was a brownie, then she stepped up and became a Girl Scout. Oh my gosh, we rocked it. We did, for sure. So I didn't look at it. I didn't want to look at it as a failure having her move there. But I do understand that, coping with this guilt and sadness for a lot of families, it's very challenging. I see right now that my friend and her family, they're starting to settle in. It's only been a few months, but they know that she is being looked after, that there's enough staff there, that she's being managed, that to the point where her husband, who's I believe he's in his late 70s, was struggling by himself as the only caregiver. So different ways to kind of manage this while it's going on. Everybody's going to deal with it differently. I felt a sense of relief. Now, did it bother me? There was times if I wasn't able to go visit for a few days, it bothered me. Yeah, it did bother me. For sure it did. But I acknowledged my feelings. I was like, I had to allow myself to kind of grieve this process. It was a very long process, 12, 15 years of knowing that she needed help. I just thought it was just a natural part of early aging. But really, when we identified this, she was 70. So, and she didn't move till she was 72, and she lived to be 82. So, or 83. I should know this. I'm sorry. But anyway, just acknowledging my feelings, not just because I had to place her there, but that for the relationship that it used to be, and for what I had hoped it could be for her. And you'll also feel the same way. I mean, there comes a time when you have to choose safety and the level of care that's needed over keeping that person close to you or controlling the situation more to relieve your own pain. But there comes a time when we can't, One of the things that when I'm doing research, they talk about is talking about it, joining a support group, especially with other folks who have people living in the facilities, or hearing from others who have made similar choices and how they got through it. And, during that time, I don't even think I talked to anybody. I think I just kept going. Again, that's sort of my personality, is just, this is what the problem is, this is the solution, this is how I get there, and how I'm going to best support that person. And over time, what I noted was, not only was I in that industry, I was seeing my mother on the weekends. I also was volunteering for the Alzheimer's Association as a facilitator for something called the Memory Cafe. And it was a monthly coffee and group chat where we would have anywhere from 10 to 20 people that were coming in that were diagnosed with early dementia. And that was sad. I did that for a year and a half, 2 years. And I was like, I can't live this 24/7, day in and day out. And I just needed to feel like, I want to enjoy what time I have with my loved one. That's really what it came down to. I didn't want to keep trying to fight the battle that I was going to lose, trying to find a cure and trying to do this. I was like, I don't want to feel like I failed her. So I wanted to live in the moment. And that's exactly how I felt every time I saw my mom. When I would go visit, I just tried to make it as happy of a visit and just productive. I would check everything about her. I would make sure that if she needed any help as far as like being cleaned, or if she needed her hair washed, or if she, I would check her feet and her hands. I wanted to make sure she wasn't bruised. I wanted just really just to be the voice that she didn't have anymore, her advocate. And that's what you will become if she's not in your own care. So I tried to reframe the narrative. I didn't want to say that I had failed her. I wanted to say that I did the best for her that I possibly could. Did it break my heart? Yes, it did in a way. But knowing that she was getting a real high level of care, and that after doing as much due diligence on where to find a place for her to live, I felt that I found and had a real trusted source. And what I also did was I made a point of popping in at different times. I wasn't going to come in on the same day at the same time. I was going to go in at various times. Could be in the morning, could have been in the afternoon or late afternoon. I'd even been there in the evenings if I was in the area, and definitely on the weekends. So I just, again, had to reframe that, and I stayed involved. I was present. I was visiting. I was calling. I was advocating for her on her behalf, and keeping connected so that they knew that she had, somebody that was going to be there from her family. She didn't know who I was for probably the last 5 years, but she knew I was someone special to her. She called me mom. She called me mommy. Oh, it's you. You're here. And then, oh, mommy, you're here. So we called each other mom, mom, mom. Sometimes I would say, hi, mom, and she wouldn't turn around. And then I'd say, hi, Diane. And then I'm going to cry. And she would turn around and she'd have a big smile. And I just tried to have, can I give you a hug? Yes, give me a hug. So I'd give her a hug. Oh, I love my mommy. She was sweet. She was so funny. When she was on top of her game too when she was younger. She was widowed really young at 54. But she just had it going on for so many years, and I felt honored that I was able to help her get through that time of her life, because she took good care of me and my brothers, and anyway, I loved her so. But going through this process of guilt and grief and the transition of all of it, like this took place long ago, but I still feel in my heart, that it did make an impact on who I am, and what it did to me. What it did do is it allowed me to really step up and provide care that she needed. And if I tried something and it didn't work, I'd try something else. I try to find another resource or something. And I did exhaust myself at times. I did become very emotionally and physically stressed. My body, my I don't know what you call it, but I had a terrible startle response. Any loud noise. It was almost like I had PTSD, but I lived with it for many years because I just, I had to keep going and, provide the compassion for her that she needed, all the while, raising little children and then going back to work. So I feel very different now when I look back about it and how I felt about the care. She knew she was loved. She knew it, and your family member will know that too, because especially if they're of clear mind. If they are of clear mind and they know that you have tried, that you have been providing a home or the space for them, or going back and forth and providing care for them, they know what you've put in. They do know. It means you accepted that you know loving someone alone is not going to be isn't enough to meet the complex medical condition that they had or meet their emotional needs, but it is definitely an act of courage. Making a decision like this, it takes immense strength, but once you get past it, this feeling of knowing that you are doing enough, you have done enough, and that you've done your very very best for that person, there'll come a time when you just feel much more at peace with everything. You know that they're getting good care and that they were at a place where they were getting the care that you would have wanted for them and for your, even for yourself. So anyway, if you're on this journey right now, I'm sending you a huge hug, sending you lots of love, keeping you in my prayers as you navigate this care journey with your family. And just know that you're doing your best. We all wish that we could do our best like this. So give yourself, the chance to know that you're doing your best and that we're here to support you. Take care, and I'll see you at the next video.